they have other guys where if Shai has a game, and I don't even see it happening, where he's like 3 of 15 from the floor, has like 15 points, then you have Jalen Williams who could go off. You have Dort who could go off for 18 in the game and hit a bunch of threes. I mean, Giddey in game 1 is priced at 11.5. Like, he's scoring in double figures right now.
For sure. And if you look at it, and if you just take a look at all the point props for these players, it gives you a sense of really what to do.
Oh, Miles Turner just hit 17, by the way.
Yes.
Good
and
call.
did he
Thank
have a
you.
second three or no?
I don't know yet. I gotta check.
So if you look at just the point props in terms of OKC versus Dallas, you've got Chet in double figures, you got Shai in double figures, you got Lou Dort in double figures, you got Jalen Williams in double figures, and you got Josh Giddey in double figures. Outside of Kyrie and Luka, there is nobody that they're giving you props in double figures for the Mavs.
Well, and that's my point. Like, Tim Hardaway Jr. was their third best player all season long. That I don't trust anybody on this team. Like, P.J. Washington, I'm not betting P.J. Washington props this series. Derrick Jones Jr., Bull Great, I'm not playing his props. That's what I mean. Like, OKC, they don't really have to be deep in this series. And I think that...
So would you bet unders on some of these Mavs? I think Daniel Gafford might have
I'm just
the
gonna
best
bet,
matchup.
I'm just going to be betting unders in the series, just 216.5. I want to see...
Daniel Gafford had 19 in a row against OKC. He might be the only player that you would, outside of Luka and Kyrie, that you would bet the over on his points.
That's what I mean. Like,
that's like tough.
Even beat up, Luka's going to have to be Superman.
Daniel Gafford rebounds is 6.5. I don't hate that at all, actually. 15.999. I actually like that.
Before I do that, I'm just going to be on the chalky props like Kyrie 24.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? Like,
I agree.
I can't do it.
I get it. I agree.
I would rather play Lou Dort over 10.5. I would rather do stuff with the role players for the Thunder. I think that they're going to get open looks. I think OKC wins this series in 6. Is Dallas still as trendy as they were a couple weeks ago?
So then you can get Thunder minus 1.5 is plus 175.
Yeah,
I would do
like
that. Yeah, I like that price too.
I like that.
For them to only be minus 120 for the full series?
I don't want to get too crazy with the series, though, just because it is Luka.
Yeah.
And I think Luka could go off, and I mean, I know that Luka could go off and be the best player in the entire playoffs, like even better than Jokic. I just think that he's capable of doing that. I know he's not fully healthy right now, and even playing on one leg, like he could still hit 7 threes. He could still go out there and have double-digit assists, double-digit rebounds. He's going to be what he is defensively anyway. He's just going to need Kyrie to have a big series. So if you trust that Kyrie's going to be able to average, I think Kyrie has to average 30. In this series.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. Like, if Luka is where he's at right now, physically, where we think he's at, yeah, I think that like, even if Luka's 100%, I mean, how many minutes is he going to be able to... He's going to play probably, like, every minute, and he's not in the best shape. I'm trying to, like, walk around saying that.
He's not.
So, yeah. I don't know, man. I like OKC. I think they get it done in 6. And I like that price.
Pat Riley, Jared, decided
yes.
he's gonna.
Yes.
Yeah, he did his best Tom Brady roast. Everybody was getting thrown under the bus. It didn't matter if they were role players, star players, current players, former players, or Eric Spoelstra, who it felt like Pat Riley said needs to up his game, offensive scheme and defensive scheme. He said that there were only 2 or 3 players in the league that made sense for him to go all in on, or just anyone to go all in on. What the hell is happening, and what do we gather from his comments today?
Listen, I have been at the front of the line criticizing this whole nonsense of heat culture over the last couple of years. Now, prior to that, I got it. But I loved every second of what Pat Riley did today. Today, what he did was throw the gauntlet down and say, enough is enough. We are getting back to the core of who the Miami Heat are. And to me, the biggest shots he threw, obviously Tyler Hero, but also to Jimmy Butler. Like, the fact that Jimmy Butler picks and chooses when he plays regular season games, and for 2 straight years put the Heat in such a hole where, yes, they dug out of it and got to the NBA Finals last year, but the amount of work and effort they had to do to get there left them with nothing in the tank for the NBA Finals. If Jimmy Butler doesn't start to take the regular season more seriously and start to put the Heat in a more advantageous position going into the playoffs, I don't really understand how it benefits Heat culture to have a guy who's only playoff Jimmy when he got there this year, he wasn't even available.
But then they make a big deal with the Marlins. It looks like the Marlins are just going to completely blow up anything that they do have. How do you feel about the Padres since they are being aggressive?
Yeah, Friday night, Miami Marlins trade Luis Arraez, the two-time batting champ, over to San Diego, and less than 24 hours later, the Marlins lose 20-4 to Oakland, and the Padres won, I think it was 13-1 against Arizona, and Luis Arraez went 4 for 6. I just think it's really something special with who many consider to be the modern day, or at least closest thing to Tony Gwynn. Now Luis Arraez is heading to San Diego, which is the house that Tony Gwynn built, Mr. Padre, how much he means to that city. That's what I'm really keyed in on. You mentioned Atlanta and the Dodgers, and there's only so much you can take away from some of these early season series. A lot of people are going to overreact from the Dodgers sweeping Atlanta. I personally am looking less at the big-time Braves-Dodgers matchups. I'm looking forward to what the Padres are and what they're capable of with Luis Arraez in that lineup. Their struggles early on, and I say struggles, they're about 500 right now. It hasn't had anything to do with their lineup necessarily. They're actually, I think they're 6th in baseball in OPS. It's really been limiting runs. Obviously, Luis Arraez is not going to be pitching in San Diego. Yeah. So they got some things to figure out starting rotation-wise, but Luis Arraez is a guy that's going to be able to get on base for those run producers and Machado, Cronenworth, and Tatis behind him. So I think it's an interesting fit, and I'm curious to see how much that's going to lead to just more run support for the pitching staff.
You mentioned the Padres. Another team that comes to mind when I think about the Padres is everything that the Nats got from that Juan Soto trade. Things are starting to come to fruition. Yeah. This team's not great, but being 500 surprises me a little bit. And they are fun to watch. The product on the field is paying off visually. What do you think about them and where they sit in the NL East?
It's funny. I was on record before the season saying, look, the Washington Nationals are not going to be winning many games this year, but they're intriguing to me. And you could go on my Twitter, I think it was back in March or something when I said it. And I said it because their pitching staff is really what intrigues me. Mackenzie Gore, and then they're hoping to get Cade Cavalli back at some point this season. He has yet to pitch this year, and he's coming off of Tommy John surgery. He's a guy that was kind of like the Spencer Strider before Spencer Strider, a guy that sports a 98+ mile an hour fastball as a starting pitcher, and then injuries started to mount, and he's really yet to find his path, and now he's working his way back. But yeah, they're a young ball club in a very, very tough National League East division. They do not match up talent wise with either the Phillies or the Braves, but I mentioned Cavalli. They still have James Wood, who they got in that Juan Soto deal a couple seasons ago. James Wood had one of, if not the best spring trainings in all of baseball, had an OPS up over 900 in spring training. And then in AAA this year, James Wood, he's only 21 years old. He's 6'7". So he's a big kid with a lot of raw power. And he's killing it down in AAA. And the Nationals are at 500 right now. And they're at least competing. So they're looking to get some of their young studs up and just start to get those guys developed. I think for the Nationals right now, they're hoping to kind of be the Baltimore Orioles of 2022.